The next death, we're gonna go on and we're gonna try the Famicom version. But, that said, I'm gonna try and play extra hard, oh god, so that this death never comes. I wanna at least see the boss on the 7800 if it's possible, but... Oh my god, it's definitely not possible. I'm not good enough. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Play Thousand Games. I'm your host, Gaming Jay, and today we're hopping into Xevious. This is an arcade shoot-'em-up, which has kind of a unique feature. You can shoot either bullets or bombs, so you can kill enemy ships or tanks. It also contains a really early example of an Easter egg, which I will try and get to. We'll see if we can actually make it happen in this game. This game was programmed by oh god, I can't even pronounce this name. Masanobu Izu Endo, which I'm sorry does not sound like the name of a human. It sounds like somebody out of Star Wars. No offense to I can't even say his name, Masanobu. But yeah, when I read that, I was like, hey, it's like a Star Wars character. But again, no offense to Masanobu there. I am looking forward to playing this game. This game was huge in Japan. It, in fact, was what you would consider a breakout success. But it was a commercial flop in North America, so reconcile that. I don't know what that means. Anyway, we're going to be checking this game out on the arcade and a home version as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and slam a couple quarters into the arcade version and give it a shot. So apparently, if you go over to the right and just start shooting, as soon as the level starts, you might be able to get an Easter egg, but I did not get it. We'll try it again. I'm sure I will die. I'm sure we'll get one more shot at this. Maybe I have to drop a bomb. So anyway, I am shooting these enemy ships. Notice I have a targeter and or like a crosshair, and that actually tells me where I'm going to drop a bomb if I press the bomb button. So I missed there. There you go. So if you want, you can go ahead and like carpet bomb these like enemy complexes. And so it's kind of an interesting game actually, where you simultaneously want to be shooting like the enemy ships and stuff, but at the same time, you sometimes want to take a break and just bomb stuff that's on the ground. I don't know where the bulk of the points are in this game. I don't know if you get more points for bombing the ground or not. Okay, we missed that stuff. It is slightly annoying how, oh, here we go. We have one Solvalu left. I guess that is the kind of ship that I'm piloting, the Solvalu. But yeah, I don't know where the points lie in this game. I don't know if you get more points by shooting ships or bombing tanks or whatever, but we're gonna do a mix of both. Oh, there's a 2-for-1. Kaboom! Oh, these things actually start shooting back, so actually you do want to start bombing them. It's actually a really complicated game when you think about it. You have to like constantly shift back and forth between like aiming your gun and aiming your bombs. You aim them differently, like the gun just shoots whatever's in front of you, whereas the bombs, you actually have to line up the crosshairs. Pretty fascinating idea for a game that came out in 1983. So props off to Izu, who, you know, the developer of this game. He was an ambitious fellow, actually. So this game started its life as a Vietnam-themed shooter game, but very quickly changed into the space shooter you see here. The developer wanted to throw in homages to Star Wars, the Alien franchise. He wanted to throw in even nods to Battlestar Galactica. Izu created his own What are these? What am I fighting here? Just random polygons just floating in space. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. The enemy's just throwing pieces of its ship at us. We're fighting the garbage ship. That's just dumping pieces behind it as it flies away, I guess. Or I don't even know. Do you often look up in the sky and see giant, rectangles just fluttering by? I've never seen that in my whole life. Maybe it's just me. Oh my god. I died to one, though! I'm mocking! I'm like, oh, the enemy's throwing, like, pieces of, plywood at us. Meanwhile, it killed me. I should know when to, I should learn when to just bite my tongue and not say anything. Don't mock the game mocks back. Izu, though, however... Oh god, I'm trapped! Oh, that sucked. Okay, we're gonna throw in another quarter and give this another shot. I want to try and get this Easter egg. So apparently, as soon as you start, if you go to like the right corner here and start shooting, last time I shot with bullets, they didn't do anything, but this time I'm shooting with bombs. Doesn't seem to do anything. I don't know. I might have to look it up. I've only read about it so far, but I want to see this Easter egg. Anyway, apparently Izu created his own alien language when he was developing this game. So talk about trying to create a game with, you know, backstory and you know, like world building. This guy was doing world building in like '83. That's nuts. To think about trying to get that sophisticated with a video game. You know, like before this, the biggest game in Japan was Space Invaders. So, you know, like, what was the story in Space Invaders? I don't know, there's things in the sky, you're in a thing, you shoot the things, watch out for the thing, you know, like, it was pretty basic, bare bones. But the guy who made this game, you know, that wasn't good enough. Once he got out of the Vietnam theme, he was like, yo, we gotta make a space game. Like, he wanted to have a backstory that would, like, pull people in. He wanted to have, like, a storyline, he wanted to have a world this existed in. He developed his own language, his own alien language, which he then used to name all the alien ships and stuff, so that they weren't just random names like Zebus and Flibblobs and stuff, but he was like, no, here's like the language. And so this is, you know, how we translate the alien names. I think that's like dedication, man. I think that shows that that shows that he is dedicated to his craft, and that he wasn't just making a game. He like, you know, he wasn't just like a contract worker, like, all right, I'll make a space shooter game for you if you pay me money. You know, for him, he was like, no, I want to like make something that I like, that I enjoy, that I'm proud of, that I've thought about, that is like fun and interesting for me. So I appreciate that. When I read about that, I thought, you know, Izu, your name, as I said, sounds like you might be a Star Wars character. But do not take that as an insult, sir. In fact, you of all people should take that as the highest honor, considering your goal to develop, you know, these space-themed games that have nods to Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, all sorts of other stuff. Man, this is actually kind of a tricky part to navigate around this stuff. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Uh-oh, we're screwed. Oh, we made it out of there. Thank God. I've given up on trying to kill enemies. I'm just trying to survive at this point. I'm in survival mode. But I'll kill, if an odd enemy strays into my line of fire, I will kill him. Don't think I've lost the thirst for murder, because that is never going to be true. It's actually hard to hit those like flying ring ships. They kind of like flutter off the screen very quickly. So as I said, this game was huge in Japan. It basically was the sort of second Space Invaders. Like it literally did numbers as big as Space Invaders. It was a breakout success. So, you know, they brought it over to North America. They're like, all right, you know, this is a shoo-in. How the hell do we kill this thing? Oh my god, this guy means business. He wants to kill us so bad. Oh, you're not gonna get us. Anyway, it was so big in Japan, they're like, all right, bring it to North America, boys! They brought it, and it was literally a commercial failure. Sold like 5,000 units or 2,000 units or something, like total. Like across all of North America, which was not very good. I think in Japan it was like millions or something. Actually, I don't know if that's units or dollars, but whatever. It did way worse in North America than it ever did in Japan. So it's kind of interesting, because like if you're watching this and you're from North America or Europe, you might not. Oh, what are these things? Oh, what's happening? Oh god, okay, hold on, time out. Time out, what the hell is going on? Oh my god, how are we supposed to survive that? I think that was a boss. Was that a boss? I'm actually impressed if that was a boss. Again, 1983, guys. Think about how early this is. You know, your friends are playing Frogger and you're playing Xevious. Actually, I don't know when Frogger came out. Maybe Frogger was a couple years old at that point. Maybe it was brand new. I don't know. My dates for really early arcade games are a little fuzzy because I was in diapers at this point. I wasn't playing video games. When Xevious came out, I literally probably couldn't even say the word video game. I was that young. So forgive me if I don't have like a clear understanding of the timeline of this era. Oh my god, okay, hold on. We'll talk more trivia after I beat this guy, if I beat this guy. Oh, I hit him once, and he got me. Damn, that's actually really challenging. It's actually challenging and fun. I want to see if I can actually beat that guy. But yeah, that guy's relentless. He's like spawning balls from all around. He's like shooting bullets, and you got to drop bombs on him. That's gonna be interesting to see if I can make this work or not. We are gonna check this game out on at least one home console, so we'll see how that goes. This game, it was ported first to the Famicom, and later they tried to port it to the NES, but again, this game didn't do very well in North America. When they ported it to the NES, they changed its name to Xevious: The Avenger. Because they're trying to make the game... Damn it, that guy just demolished me. They're trying to make the game seem cooler by adding the Avenger. Ooh, we could enter our initials if we want. Let's just skip this phase. I don't need initials. In fact, it's not even initials, it's like whole names. It's like please sign your name and enter your social security number, if you would. All right, I think we signed it as C. We're the character C. Let's give this arcade game a little bit more time, because we just made it to that boss, and I kind of feel like maybe with a bit more practice, I could figure this out. And also, we totally missed the potential Easter egg. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna reset, and we'll actually try and get that Easter egg. Okay, throwing some quarters in, heading to the bottom right, and shooting my heart out. Nothing happens. And apparently you're supposed to, like, it might be the wrong corner. Maybe I'm supposed to go to the bottom left. Maybe I'm supposed to be dropping bombs. Apparently it shows a message like programmed by Xevious or something. And that's where this guy's nickname came from. What's his name again? Masanobu Endo is the guy's name, but his nickname is Xevious. What does that even mean? I don't even know. That's just like a nickname in another language is my guess. I'm sure it means something in Japan. It's like Skippy. Xevious is the Skippy of Japan or something like that probably. But it just sounds totally foreign and mystical to my my unrefined North American ears. My unrefined Canadian ears. We're savages over here, guys. Boom, boom, boom! Oh, we just decimated that. Yeah, so if you are watching this and you're from North America, you're probably like, yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen this game before. But if you're watching this and you're from like Japan or something, I don't know if I have any Japanese viewers. In fact, I'm pretty sure I don't, but who knows? If you're the first Japanese viewer that I've ever had on my channel and you're watching this, you'd be like, Jay, this game is very common where I come from. My father taught me the art of Xevious when I was but a young lad. Also, the name Xevious is basically just devious with an X. Like the alien version of devious. But other than that, it's like, it's a pretty basic name. Oh god! Damn it. Oh man, Zero Solvalu left. I like how even the name of the spacecraft I can't pronounce. Everything in this game has a weird exotic name. Or not weird, but everything in this game has an exotic name. Boom. Oh, I missed that. It is actually really hard to line up these bombs, I will say. I like the idea of the bombs, they're cool, but it is quite challenging to actually get them where you want to get them. It's so much easier to just shoot things on the screen. I've been spoiled by games like Galaga and Space Invaders and stuff. I think maybe if we could move faster, the bombs would be easier, but it's sometimes hard to like get where you need to go on the screen. Oh my god. Also, if a guy's getting too close to you, you just can't bomb him. Like the bombs are like a really complicated weapon in this game. I'm very surprised that this existed again in 1983. But yeah, it's interesting to think about how some games are popular in some regions and not others and stuff like that, and like how every region in the world really kind of has its own sort of gaming history and gaming culture. Oh, and we got one of those things. Like, you know, honestly, like, we talk a lot, and not just us, but I think, like, a lot of gaming culture talks a lot about, you know, like, the big three. Japan, North America, and Europe. Those are, like, the big three sort of, like, gaming centers in the world. But it's like, people play games in other parts of the world. We kind of never talk about it. Like, what's going on in South America, man? What's going on in Africa? You know, like, what are people doing in those areas? They're definitely, I guarantee you, they're gaming. We just don't hear about it. Maybe we're like very insular in the gaming world. I saw a mini documentary on YouTube not too long ago where a fellow went to Brazil and he was checking out, they called it the gray gaming market in Brazil. And it's called the gray market because it's technically legal, but there's also tons of clone consoles and lots of illegal stuff as well. So it's like a very gray, sort of gray zone for gaming. But Brazil has like a fascinating gaming history. Oh my God. So, I guess in the 80s or possibly earlier, and even back in the 70s. Okay, one more time with this, and then we'll switch over to the home console. But like, yeah, for a long time, for Brazil, if you were like a foreign company and you wanted to like sell your product in Brazil, you'd have to team up with a Brazilian company to actually manufacture it. Kind of like how they do in China these days. You know, like Nintendo can't go and sell Nintendo systems in China, but if they pair up with a Chinese company who puts their name on the system, and then Nintendo gives them the schematics and everything, then they're allowed to make Nintendo consoles. They just can't call them Nintendo. So a kind of similar thing was true in Brazil. I don't think it's true anymore, but don't quote me on that, because, hey, I don't live in Brazil. I don't know anyone in Brazil. But yeah, anyway, so it's like in Brazil, like there were Atari consoles that were sold, even by Atari, but they weren't called Atari. It's like there was some other company that actually made it and manufactured it, and they looked totally different. Sega and Nintendo both came to Brazil at one point, but basically, I think Nintendo was way more reluctant to like officially come, and as a result, like Brazil is a market that was dominated by Sega. So it's like Sega games and Sega Genesis and all that stuff. Like that stuff was huge and like still is apparently in Brazil. There's all sorts of like ROM hacks and, like third-party games and stuff that people put out in Brazil because, again, the laws were like so like fuzzy and lax that people could get away with it. So you can play like Sonic games on Super Nintendo and stuff. Like it's really weird stuff. Video game consoles are also super expensive in Brazil. Damn it. So it's like, to get a PS4 is like, $1,500. So instead, Brazil is still like on the PS2. Like they're still making PS2s and buying them in Brazil. So it's like Brazil is like a bizarro world of gaming. Like all the rules that apply to like the big three regions, North America, Japan, and Europe, that we might know, do not apply in Brazil. It's like you went to a parallel universe where like gaming history is totally different. And there's even things like, the Xbox 360 is way bigger in Brazil than the PS3 ever was, because the Xbox 360 was easy to pirate. So there's, piracy drives hardware sales in Brazil. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense, like the logic of, it does make sense, once you hear why it's bigger, you're like, oh yeah, of course that would make sense. But it's sort of like, it doesn't follow the same history or the same trajectory as everything else that happened in the rest of the world. So anyway, that's Brazil. There's other places in the world. There's Australia. I never hear anything about Australia. I guess I kind of lump it in mentally with Europe. But what's going on in Australia? What are you guys into over there? You guys pretty much doing the same stuff we're doing here in North America? Or you got your own thing going on? Oh, we finally blew up that big annoying thing. That's awesome. There's places like India. And, of course there's China. I do hear about China occasionally. Hence, I know a little bit about how they sort of sneak their way to get consoles into China. Nintendo does, by partnering with Chinese companies. But what's going on in Mongolia? Anything? Was anyone playing video games in Mongolia? I don't know. It's a place. Are there games going on there? There's other countries, by the way, in South America too. I don't know. I'm just curious. Like, what's going on in the rest of the world, guys? Let's not be myopic here. I'm from Canada. I definitely know what's going on gaming-wise in Canada, and then America, the USA, because they're our closest neighbors. But besides that, it's like, even Europe, I'm kind of fuzzy on. I hear things from Europe occasionally. Some of my viewers are from Europe, and they'll tell me things. Europe isn't even like a unified area. It's like different countries, like Germany, France, Japan, Spain, England. Like, they all have their own sort of gaming histories and gaming cultures. So I don't know. Anyway, we'll keep talking about this, but let's switch over to a home console release. So there's two ways we could go here. I thought maybe we could do the Famicom because it was the first Xevious port ever made, but this was an Atari game, Namco, but it came to Atari, and they completed ports for the Atari 2600 and 5200. and they never released them. So it's like you can find them online nowadays, but those are unreleased. But they did release a version for the Atari 7800. So considering that there are 2 unreleased ports on Atari consoles, I kind of wanted to try the 7800. So let's try the 7800 and we'll go from there. All right, Xevious, 1-player intermediate. Let's go. All right, so here's the home version that you would play on the good old Atari 7800. Now, me living in Canada, I knew the Atari 2600. The Atari 2600 was like the first... Wait, what's happening here? Okay. Interesting. It seems like when you shoot, you just shoot both at the same time. So I don't think there's a separation between shooting bullets and bombs, which actually is kind of more convenient. I feel like I can play this way more easily. My guy's just like carpet bombing everything. In the arcade, you couldn't shoot both at the same time. If you tried to, you could only shoot one. So this might actually, we might get farther in this version than in the arcade version. But yes, so me, coming from Canada, the Atari 2600 was like my first foray into any kind of video gaming. You know, when I was like 6 or 4, like my parents weren't taking me to arcades. You know, I was at home, but my dad happened to own an Atari. So when he would have a nap in the afternoon, sometimes on the weekend, I would sneak over, and I couldn't read, but I would open up the TV cabinet, and he had all these Atari games. They were nice and alphabetized, and I would pull them out one at a time, stick it in the Atari, turn it on, and see if it was Pitfall. And if it wasn't, I would take the cartridge out and throw it next to the Atari and grab the next one. So my poor dad, he's like trying to take a nap on the weekend. You know, he's worked hard all week. You know, my mom's out, and he's like, yeah, I'll watch Little Jade. Don't worry about it. He has a little nap, leaves a cartoon on for me. As soon as I am convinced he's passed out, I start rummaging through his expensive electronics, casually throwing cartridges on the ground until I find Pitfall. Then he wakes up, every single game has been pulled out, nothing's alphabetized anymore, and I'm just sitting there in my diaper playing Pitfall. That was my youth, guys. That was how this channel here got started, years before YouTube. That was my initial training. Damn it, this is actually, I thought I'd do better in this, but it's actually quite hard. Anyway, so long story short, the Atari 2600 was the first video game system I ever played. So Atari was like the beginning. When I got older, I learned what arcades were, and then I got to go to them occasionally. But for me, by the time like I really got into gaming, like everyone was playing Nintendo. Like the first time I laid hands on a Nintendo Entertainment System, my little tiny child brain was exploded, and I thought this was the most advanced, coolest thing I'd ever seen. If Pitfall was my favorite game on the Atari 2600, imagine what it was like when I played Super Mario Bros. 1 for the first time. I was like, holy shit! You know, there's no other word for it. I was like, oh my god, this is like Pitfall to the extreme. I instantly, the only thing I wanted to do from then on was play Nintendo. Like I went through like a real addicted phase in my youth. Probably like the ages of 6 through 14. I don't know if it's that long, but let's say 6 through 10. Let's say 4 years. I was like hardcore into Nintendo. So I didn't really play too many arcade games. So I definitely missed Xevious in the arcades. I mean, it wasn't that big in North America, as we've already said. Damn it. I'm not even gonna make it to the boss in this one. This wasn't that big in North America, as we've already said, so, you know, most of us missed it. But I missed it because I wasn't even, like, paying attention to arcades that closely in my youth. I really sort of got a real soft spot for arcades more in my teenage years. But then, you know, as time went on, that kind of started to disappear. Damn, alright, we'll give this another shot or two. Maybe we will try out the Famicom version. I thought we would only do arcade and 7800 here, but considering how fast these games are going, I say, let's do it, guys. I'm committing to it right now. Let's check out the Famicom version as well. Because I'm just interested to see if this is even... Oh, God. This is still hard on the Famicom, or if it's just the, you know, Atari here. But anyway, yeah, so Nintendo was like the real system I got into when I was old enough to understand what video games were. But Atari 7800 here is a system that I've like never really played. I've only played it because of this channel. I've never played an Atari 7800 game here just for fun or just before I started a YouTube channel. I just didn't. And it's because I just didn't know about it really. It like wasn't really a thing in my house. No one at school talked about it. I don't even know if I knew the Atari 7800 existed until I started watching The Angry Video Game Nerd. I think he might have introduced me to the fact that this was a console. I just didn't know it existed. So I'm kind of curious. For folks out there, are there any of you guys who grew up with the Atari 7800? Because the 7800 I know was supposed to be like Atari's answer to the NES. It was like Atari's attempt to compete with the Nintendo Entertainment System. And so the graphics and stuff are like somewhat comparable. I feel like the sound is objectively worse. Like I feel like the sound on the NES is just far more advanced. There's more voices and channels and stuff. But, you know, I'm not a technical guy. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe someone out there is like, actually, you know, the technical specs on the 7800 are far beyond the NES. I don't really know. But, yeah, I'm curious if anyone out there from, you know, in your country or in your household or in your youth, did you have a 7800? And can you give us a little backstory on that? Like, was it common? Did all your friends have a 7800? Were you, like, kind of the, you know, the person who stood out from all your friends for actually owning this? I know one console I did know about as a kid, but I like never played. I mean, well, there was two. One was rarer than the others. The really rare one was the Neo Geo. I knew about the Neo Geo. I saw it on video game shows, and I really wanted a Neo Geo, but you know, they were like $1,500 consoles when I was a kid in Canada. So it's like we definitely didn't get a Neo Geo. Try this. Okay, here, let's try this one more time. I'm gonna keep talking for a sec. But yeah, Neo Geo. I really wanted Neo Geo, but they look super cool. But yeah, I didn't have it. Didn't know anyone who had one. It was just like did not exist. I'm curious if in your country or your household you actually owned a Neo Geo. You know, even households are different. Like I know like there were Sega houses and Atari houses when I was a kid, and kids would fight in the schoolyard about which was better. But I don't ever remember anyone being from a Neo Geo household. The other rare console for me growing up was the TurboGrafx 16. And I've talked about that before when I've played TurboGrafx games. And the TurboGrafx 16 I definitely had more exposure to. I'm pretty sure I tried it when I was a kid. I don't think I knew anyone who owned a TurboGrafx 16. So I think that if I met someone who owned one, that would have been kind of rare and awesome. But where I think I tried it was, it used to be the case that if you went into malls or video game stores, they would have kiosks set up. And in those kiosks, you could, you know, like they would have games set up so that you could try them. And I'm pretty sure I tried Bonk's Adventure that way. Oh my god. I keep dying at this one spot. I'm like recognizing the spot that I'm dying at. Oh, this is... I think I selected 2-player mode by accident. I don't have a second controller set up, so here's player 2. Man, he's doing surprisingly well. I just want to see how far this guy gets. Oh my god, he dodged 2 bullets, and he did nothing. That is actually hilarious. Anyway, okay, I think the Atari 7800 version here has had its day. The next death, we're going to go on, and we're going to try the Famicom version. But, that said, I'm going to try and play extra hard, oh god, so that this death never comes. I want to at least see the boss on the 7800, if it's possible, but... Oh my god, it's definitely not possible. I'm not good enough. Alright, let's go check out the last thing we're going to look at today, which is Xevious on the Famicom, the Nintendo Family Computer, which was the first console that this game was ever ported to. Alright, Xevious by Namcot? Wait, what? Does Namco have a different name in Japan? This is a Japanese version of the game. We'd have to play Xevious the Avenger if we want to play it on NES, but I want to go for the real experience here and play this on the Famicom proper. So I am now mentally in Japan in 1984 or something. I'm really trying to get into the mindset here. And we will go. The one thing I really like about this this Japanese Famicom version, I mean, instantly, by the way, I feel like I am in more control than either of the other two versions. I mean, I was playing with the joystick on the other versions, to try and be authentic, but now I'm playing with the D-pad. And I feel like D-pads are just better for reaction times. Like, honestly, if I'm moving left and all of a sudden I have to quickly move to the right, my thumb only needs to move like a millimeter, and then I will send that input to the console. If I'm, playing with a joystick and I'm moving to the left and all of a sudden I have to pull the joystick to the right, that's a couple of centimeters. And that takes fractions of seconds. And so I kind of just feel like D-pads in general are just way more precise than like old school Atari joysticks. But I mean, I don't know. Fight me in the comments if you want. If you disagree, that's fine. But yes, so I like that we're using a D-pad now. I feel much more comfortable in being able to move. I also like that I can hold shooting. So the shooting is the B button. I can hold that down and my guy just goes nuts shooting everything on the screen. And whenever I need to, I can just quickly tap the bomb button, and it really doesn't seem to interfere with my shooting. So the 7800 version, again, wasn't bad. You just kind of did both. So it's like, pulling the trigger, you just shot everything. I don't mind that, but actually, I think this is even better. So in the arcade version, you couldn't do both at the same time. You just stopped shooting to drop a bomb. So there was a little glitch in your firing whenever you pulled that bomb trigger as your ship stopped. Oh God, your ship stopped firing and dropped a bomb. In the 7800 version, you're just constantly lobbing bombs, but every time you drop a bomb, like see, if I'm just constantly dropping bombs, once a bomb is in the air and it's started to be dropped, I can't drop another. So it's like if I want to get this thing, here, I'm just constantly dropping bombs. You kind of have to wait for the timing to work out. But here on the Famicom version, I can come up, hit the bomb button, and move away. So it's like I can time things way better. So yeah, I feel like I'm much more of a fan of this. And I mean, this is how it was set up in the arcade. The arcade is just, for various reasons. Mostly, I think, if I had used a D-pad in the arcade, I think I would have played better. Boom, boom, boom. Oh yeah, we're crushing them. Well, most of them anyway. I feel like the Famicom here feels like a pretty close approximation to the arcade as well. I mean, like, there's some things that are simplified. Like, the water here is just literally like a little blue splotch. But, oh my God, that bullet was coming real fast. 0 Solvalu left. Hey, we can try and get the Easter egg on this version of the game too, actually. I would be interested to know, like, how close you could get this game to being like the arcade game on an NES. Because here's the interesting thing about NES games. If you look at Super Mario Bros. 1, and you compare it to Super Mario Bros. 3, they're night and day. And you might look at them and say, like, wow, like, people when they were programming Mario 1, the developers were quite lazy. Because, like, look how good they could have made it. But I get maybe they didn't know how to program well enough, or was... they're still figuring out the Nintendo or something like that. That's not true, actually. If you open up a Mario 1 cartridge and a Mario 3 cartridge, there's actually chips in the Mario 3 game that enhance the Famicom, enhance the NES, and give it more capabilities than it had for Mario 1. So you couldn't take a Mario 1 cartridge and translate and then put Mario 3's ROM on there and play Mario 3. It would not work. Because the cartridge doesn't have enough horsepower. The cartridge was enhancing the system. And so when we think about really old games like this on the Famicom, some of the early ported games, I kind of wonder, like, you look at the grass and stuff and nothing is textured and you're like, wow, like, this is the best the Famicom could do, eh? Like, pretty basic. But imagine if we took a Mario Bros. 3 cartridge, when the Nintendo was, like, at the peak of its game, years after it had been initially released, when the developers had added all sorts of extra memory mapping chips and bank switching and stuff to, like, enhance the system. And imagine we came back and we tried to redo Xevious here. I wonder, could we get it looking exactly like the arcade version? Like, how close could we get? So I don't know. That would be an interesting sort of exercise, I think, for anyone who actually knows how to, like, program these things. I don't know if anyone will ever actually do anything like this, but I'm kind of curious. If you take an early arcade game and a late generation Nintendo cartridge that has all sorts of, like, extra chips on it, how closely could you match those two? And could you get an NES game that is the same or better than that early arcade game? I mean, I know if we took something like Space Invaders, I feel like with the games that were coming out on the Nintendo near the end of its lifespan. You definitely... Oh my god, this is like impossible. Oh god, I think I hit him. Oh! Oh wait, we were starting to pass him! Oh man, okay, we gotta try this again. I feel like you could definitely make Space Invaders arcade accurately on the NES. Like, you know, the original Space Invaders, it was just some aliens moving slowly across the screen with a couple different colors. Like, you could probably perfectly replicate that on the NES. So, and probably like the original Pac-Man too. Like, there's no reason you couldn't get like an almost pixel perfect. I mean, pixel's not a good word because the screen resolutions will always be a little different from the arcade to home console. But you could get like a really accurate rendition of Pac-Man, I think, on a late cartridge NES system. So, like, how much further could we push it? We got the two big ones, Space Invaders, got Pac-Man. You could probably get Frogger pretty easily. And so, like, could you get Xevious here? Is this possible? I don't know. Maybe someone who's technically savvy can, like, sort of philosophize and theorize in the comments and, like, enlighten us all as to whether or not this is a thing that could happen. I don't know. These are the things you think of when your commanding officer tells you to go and stop a bunch of aliens from invading. God damn, that is so hard to dodge. This is a challenging game. This game definitely harkens back to the early eras of video games. When game developers were like, hey, you like this game? Well, F you! And they just killed you straight up. I feel like gaming really... I can't remember if I've talked about this on the channel before, but I thought about this... I was thinking about this recently, and I've thought about this before. But I feel like video games really sort of evolved out of pinball. Which is, I think, probably true, you know? Like, pinball games were kind of the first... I don't know what you'd even call them, because they're not all arcade games. They're like, sort of coin-operated tabletop fun games or whatever. But with pinball games... really, they didn't last all that long. I mean, the earliest pinball games, you put in a couple coins, you got some balls, you pulled on them, and they were almost like slot machines. They would fly up, they would bounce down like Plinko on The Price is Right, and maybe you won something. The invention, like, I think a lot of people, when they think of pinball games, they think of, like, games that have bumpers. But that was a later invention, you know? There were pinball games, believe it or not, there were pinball games before there were bumpers. So the earliest pinball games lasted like 5 seconds, right? You pull a thing, you put the ball up, you play a game of Plinko. The earliest pinball games were Plinko. Later on, they had bumpers, and the games lasted a bit longer. But unless you were like a pro, pinball games didn't last all that long. I mean, they were designed to cycle through your money. They wanted you to, pay more money to keep playing. And, you know, people kind of got accustomed to that. So, and actually, here's one fun fact about pinball. Did you guys know that pinball was illegal in the United States until the 70s? Look it up. It got banned in the 30s because it was believed to be child gambling. Wasn't legal again until the 70s. And so as a result, there's actually like a lot more pinball followings from the 60s and 50s in Europe because it was straight up illegal in the States. Even though they still manufactured pinball machines in the States in the 50s and 30s and 40s. I don't know. It's a weird history pinball has. But anyway, I think when the first arcade machines came around, they were basically sort of modeled after pinball. They were like, well, how long do people play on 1/4 on pinball? Let's do that. And so all the early arcade machines had this mentality of, you only get 30 seconds to play. And also, pinball games didn't have other screens. When you played pinball, you were just on the board you were on. You know, it's not like pinballs had levels and bosses and stuff. And so I think that's why when you look at really old games, they didn't really have those things because they had to be invented, you know? Like, everyone was sort of moving out of pinball into video games, and they just sort of followed pinball's like one screen mentality. And very quickly, god damn it, we get to that boss and die right away. Very quickly, I think you saw things like, you know, like points that came from pinball. Everyone was obsessed with pinball, getting the highest points. So when arcade games became a thing, everyone wanted to have the high score in arcade games. But very quickly that started to disappear, and then it became like, how far can you get? To what level can you get? What boss can you beat? And as these new, more interesting landmarks were produced, I think they became the focus of video games. Now it's about how fast can you do a game, how much precision, you know, how quickly can you get to the end without dying, like, you know, perfect runs and stuff like that. So it's like, we're still interested in marks of skill in video games, just like people were with pinball. But oh my god, I can't believe we're living this long. Oh, we did it! We beat the boss! Oh my god, the balls are still coming for us. No, you sons of bitches. Oh, game over. All right, I'm done. I'm done. Oh man. Well, we did see the end there, but oh my god. See what I mean about these old games being hard? Even when they ported it to home console and they were like, okay, now we don't have to worry about getting quarters out of kids' pockets every 30 seconds. The developers were like, should we give them longer to play than 30 seconds? They were like, nah, F them, man. F those little snot-nosed kids. They just didn't care about anyone's self-esteem back in the 80s. No, I'm sure it's because, you know, they wanted the game to be accurate to the arcade, to be weird if you got it home and it was like a totally different, way easier game or something. Like, people wanted the games they were playing in the arcade. Plus, these games, even though this one had like a boss and stuff, I don't think these games had a ton of levels. So if the game was too easy, you'd beat it in an afternoon, you'd be like, well, then what? So the difficulty actually does add to replay, but definitely sort of a different way of designing games than you typically will see these days. Anyway, this has been Xevious, one of the games, the book 1,001 Video Games You Must Play Before You Die. I feel like we blathered on about a whole lot of stuff, like games from different regions and pinball and all sorts of stuff. I don't know. What do you guys think of everything? Not just Xevious, but everything we talked about here today. Comment your comment in the comments down below. I love to hear your guys' takes on these things. Maybe you guys have some interesting insights I didn't think about. Maybe something I said was wrong or inaccurate and you can help correct me. Or maybe you just want to fawn over everything I said and tell me I'm awesome. Hey, I'll take any of those comments. Hint which one I would prefer. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not fishing for praise. Guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it was fun and interesting. I hope you learned a little bit. And if you played Xevious back in the day, please leave a comment letting us know what it was like, you know, what you liked about it. If you're from Japan, like how big it was, that'd be really cool to hear about. But regardless of whether you thought the game was interesting or anything, I hope you had fun. And if you did, don't forget to like the video and all that stuff. And I will catch you guys in the next one. So until then, my friends, you all take care of yourselves. And peace. Oh, game over. All right, I'm done.